Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 288 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. So go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I just came back from a recent trip to watch the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. They were playing the Mets. Now, as a Yankee fan, I have really no interest in either team that's playing there at Wrigley Field, but I do have lots of respect for the traditions at Wrigley Field in Chicago. And it was a great opportunity to see my fraternity brothers, college students that I was hanging out with for 4 years while I was in college, and to catch up with them. And let me tell you, this brotherhood is for a lifetime. So understand that when you go to college, you're going to be meeting some wonderful people. If you do join a fraternity or sorority, you're joining a group of people that will be by your side at weddings, the birth of your children, even after retirement. So enjoy every moment. I would trade places with you in a heartbeat if I could go back to college right now. I promise you that that is a true statement. So our next guest is Nicole Bueno. Nicole is an up-and-coming author with her highly anticipated memoir. It's called Something to Talk About. An excerpt from this work was selected as a finalist in the 2021 San Francisco Writers Conference Writing Contest. Nicole is a psychotherapist, and she is joining us from San Jose, California. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Hi, Michael. It's great to be here.
It's great having you on the show. I love the work that you're doing, and I think that we can have a great discussion that's really going to help a lot of the college students that are listening right now. I want to go back because you got your undergraduate degree from San Jose State University in social work, and then you went on to UC Berkeley for your master's in social work. So tell our audience, what made you choose these two fantastic institutions?
San Jose State is in my backyard. And when I was a senior in high school, I decided I wasn't quite yet ready to leave the area of mom and dad. And so I thought San Jose State's the closest. It was the only college I applied to. And thankfully, I got in. Actually, I transferred over from community college over to San Jose State, and I'm so grateful for that experience. It was life-changing. That's where I got involved in a sorority, and it really had a profound positive impact, not just for my college years, but the rest of my life, and those relationships continue today, I'm sure, as you're aware.
Yeah, that's really awesome. What sorority did you join at San Jose State?
Sigma Theta Psi.
Love it, love it, love it. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, I love that, it was a good experience for you, and that you're still close with the sisters. I think that that's a phenomenal thing. I had the same experience with my fraternity. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I advocate for it, because really, when you join this organization, you think that, all right, maybe it's just a student organization for a few years. But the reality is these are the people that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. And so it really is a fantastic way to get the leadership skills that you need, but also really start building a network of supporters, people that are going to back you up as you go to UC Berkeley and continue your master's work and then continue to do the work that you do today.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really like that. And now you have more than 25 years of experience in wellness and peak performance. You're a licensed clinical social worker, and you're a behavioral health expert. And what's interesting to me about your story is that you struggled when your thoughts became the biggest obstacle while you were training for an Ironman triathlon. So talk to our audience a little bit about that obstacle while you were doing your training for the Ironman.
So, in deciding I was going to pursue an Ironman triathlon, even though you can train with a team, in which I did, you're out there for hours with nothing but your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized climbing up Highway 9, which is a highway in Los Gatos near San Jose, and with all of its switchbacks and twists and turns, I had an experience where I just became extremely frustrated. My thoughts were, this is ridiculous. This is dumb. I got off my bike and I started walking it up. And I thought, if that happened on a training ride, how in the world am I going to get through the rest of this training, let alone the actual event? And I had been hearing or reading about mental skills consultants, peak performance coaches, or sports psychologists. And so I decided to pick up the phone and call one. And it was an aha moment for me when he asked, what are your thoughts? I want you to put that scene, that scenario when you were riding up Highway 9, and I want you to tell me step by step what your thoughts were. And the aha moment really came when he said to me, so you're letting your frustration master you? You need to learn how to master your frustration, and it'll be a game changer. And why that was such an aha moment for me is because I realized and learned, you mean I can be in control of my thoughts? We don't have to be passive observers of these thousands of thoughts as humans we have per day. And so learning that I can take control and that can better guide me was life-changing. And it was so profound for me that I took a different course in my career.
Wow, that's amazing. That phone call would really change the rest of your life. Just incredible. And so now you've been working in the mental health space specifically since 2011. You did work for Major League Baseball doing individual and family counseling to employees and their families as well. Talk to our audience about what that experience was like working for, I'm assuming, some very high profile clients.
It was a wonderful experience. I worked with the San Jose Giants, so the minor league of the larger organization. And because I'm in San Jose, and their families. So anyone who was looking for support, whether that was around daily life challenges and stresses or performance. And it was a great experience because I could also apply my specialty, but also in the life of sports. And so the beautiful thing about how we function as human beings and our thought processes and what we say to ourselves, self-talk, you can apply those same skills in your daily life, but you can also translate and use those same skills if you play sport, in your work, in your schooling, if there's certain frustrations. And so once you learn the core of how to get yourself to the next level and how to do that and how to practice it, you can apply it to any scenario in your life.
This is so interesting. One of the other things that you talk about is that you say that positive thinkers live on average 2 years longer than their negative thinking counterparts. So tell our audience, what are the 4 steps to having this extended lifespan? We all want to live a little bit longer.
Right. One is the awareness. As humans, it's estimated we have a minimum of 6,000 thoughts per day. And oftentimes it's automatic. We're passive observers. So the first step is raising your awareness of what your thoughts are. If you're presented with a glass that has liquid in it, do you look at it as being half full or half empty. And so one is having the awareness. Without the awareness, you can't be successful with steps 2 through 4. So once you have the awareness, the next step is to write it down, what's often referred to as a thought log. And it's literally just noticing what your thought is. Don't judge it. Don't edit it. Just write it down. Write about 2 to 3 thoughts per day. And do that for, say, 4-5 days, and start to see if there's certain patterns in the way you think. And then once you do that, if you look and go, wow, I'm noticing that when I wake up in the morning, one of my first thoughts tends to be, what in the world is this day going to bring? The next step is identifying a more facilitative thought. So in other words, how can you replace that negative thought with a thought that will help you feel better going into your day? And it sets the tone for the rest of your day. It could be something like, I'm going to give it my best today, and I can deal with whatever the day is going to bring me. And then the last step is practicing. It takes work. It's not going to happen automatically. If many people say, well, gosh, you're such a negative thinker. If you think negatively, just change your thoughts. If it were that easy, we would all do it. Right. And there wouldn't be a need to have these conversations. It does take work, but the work will pay off. The more you practice, the day will come and you will realize and have a light bulb moment where your go-to thought was a neutral thought, or it was a positive thought instead of the negative that you could find. And that's really retraining your brain in a way to benefit you.
Wow, that's incredible tips. One of the things that I think about too is that we've had some recent incidents with school shootings. And so I'm wondering, how can our audience be change agents and turn anger into real action to prevent these types of incidents from happening in schools in the future?
Get involved, get active in what you can control. When events like that happen, we can feel so helpless and so frustrated. And so one of the ways to help us cope is to focus on what we can control. And if we want to be a change agent, we can choose, because it's all about choices. And if you make the choice, wow, that's really unfortunate, I'm just going to continue to go about my day, that's okay. But realize that that's the choice that you're making. If you would like to be a change agent, decide what's going to work for you, what's going to fuel your fire, your passion, and get you to being able to change where you want to see those changes. It could be at a local level. Do you want to start by gathering your neighbors and having a meeting amongst your neighbors to talk about, hey, how can we work with the local schools in our neighborhood around this topic? Can we provide them support? Are they needing resources? Or it can be something on a larger scale. Hey, we want to be able to introduce legislation, and we really want to be able to take this up to a larger group, government, testify in front of Congress to push legislation forward. It's entirely possible. And that can really help us be change agents, not just in our own communities, but in our country and potentially even the world, depending on, how much of a difference that you want to make and you feel needs to be made to ameliorate the issues in society today.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it is really important to focus on what we can control because some things are completely out of our control.
Yeah.
We sit here and we watch TV and we watch it unfold. There's nothing that we can do at that point. I mean, there's really nothing other than panic. And so it's trying to focus on what we can control is I think a very, very good way to look at it. And, you know, I also think about my own kids because I want my two children to be resilient. They're now getting ready to go to college. They're going to be in college in the next 1 year and then 2 years from each kid, respectively. So, what do you think are some ways that we can boost their resiliency so they feel like they can conquer anything as young adults?
One step would be to really encourage them and facilitate socialization and having a social network. It could be amongst their peers, also between family. Over the years, one of the surprises when I initially got out of graduate school and started my career, one of the biggest surprises to me was of the families that I worked with, how many did not have a support system. Mm. And that was a theme that continues to run throughout. And so having a support system and persons they can reach out to and lean on when challenges and adverse events arise for them is enormous and can help get them through. Also, the ability for parents or other support persons around them to guide them and recognize, hey, this is a change. This was not anticipated that this would happen. Let's talk about it. What went well? What didn't go so well? What can you do to continue moving forward at this point? And really seeing it as a learning, as an opportunity to learn and go, okay, how can, it's still information. Things may not have worked out in the way we hoped or the way we planned, but in helping them learn to take that as information to then make decisions about next steps. Because resiliency is all about learning to deal with adversity. And with challenges and changes we didn't anticipate during our lifespan. And so the more experience and guidance they have to recognize that, okay, this is a change, how am I going to deal with it? And then be able to continue moving forward is crucial and can really, continue to build the resilience. Also, what can aid children, young adults to feel empowered, which also bolsters the resiliency, is volunteering or helping others. And it doesn't need to be like, let me volunteer for some organization. It can be, depending on what your passion and interests are. But it also could be if someone's in high school, college, how can I help my peers? Does someone seem to be struggling with this coursework? Let me extend my support. Hey, maybe I can offer to meet with them. And that can help us really feel empowered, which also is another strategy to build our resilience, to be able to pivot when our own challenging times are presented.
Wonderful tips. I'm sure our listeners right now would love to be thought leaders in whatever career they are envisioning for themselves. I think we all kind of dream about that within our niche, within our path. So if our listeners want to be a thought trailblazer, what should they do to achieve goals that they never really thought was possible in the first place?
One is believing that you can. There's a wonderful quote that says, believe you can, and you're halfway there. And that really speaks to how our thoughts are often really self-limiting.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not limit ourselves. And instead of going, well, what if I'm not successful? Well, I invite people to say, let's look at that other 50%. What if you are successful? What could that look like? And to find a mentor in the field that you're interested in, the profession, someone who shares the passion that you do, and finding a mentor to help guide you and cheer you on. Learning to create your own support team, I have found to be priceless. Surrounding yourself with people who are going to tell you that you can do it, and here's why you can do it, or here's how you can do it, is so important. And that's one thing that your mentor will often bring, because they share the same passion, they've done it, and they can teach, guide, and support you along the way. So it also goes back to what we were talking about in terms of our thoughts and thinking about, what are you saying to yourself? Mm-hmm. How are you talking to yourself every day? And to go for it, and setting, being more in control of your thoughts, surrounding yourself with persons who are going to support you and tell you you can, are two huge steps in getting there. And you can get there. There will be obstacles, there will be setbacks, but again, those can be learning opportunities, and utilize them to help launch you forward.
Fantastic. I think there's a couple of things that it makes me think about. It makes me think about the fact that everybody's an expert in something. And so whoever is listening right now, I'm sure there's something that you're really passionate about, that you certainly can be that thought trailblazer. There's no question about it. And the other thing is, be careful what you wish for, because it just might happen.
Yes.
I think, I'm living proof of that. A kid with the dream 7 years ago is now, running a team of speakers that are running from Maine to California to spread their message. And 7 years ago, you pray for things to happen, and then when they actually do, then you're like, oh my God. It's weird to see it all come to fruition just like you had planned. Sometimes it takes a little time, and you certainly run into a lot of hurdles along the way, but here we are. So how do we make our accomplishments matter in life, even when those accomplishments might be unexpected?
Celebrate them and recognize them. Celebrate even if it's one thing that you get accomplished per day. Mm-hmm. For some people is, hey, I made it to class. For others, it might be, God, I didn't really want to get to work today, or do something I needed to get done around the house, but I did it. And celebrate that. One thing that can be really helpful in reminding us how many things we are accomplishing is, every time you accomplish something, put it in a vase, a clear vase, something you can see. Write it on a piece of paper. I went to poli-sci class today. I facilitated this meeting at work today. And put it in the vase. And as it builds up, when you start to doubt yourself, look at the vase, and it's a visual reminder of all of the different things that you have accomplished. In order to celebrate ourselves and to recognize our accomplishments, we don't have to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner. We don't have to be an Oscar winner. We accomplish so many things in our day-to-day life. And so to recognize those and to celebrate yourself It may be you also, if you're motivated internally or externally, set rewards for yourself. Hey, after 5 days of working on this report that's due, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go get an ice cream. I'm going to go play, take some time for me, go play soccer with my buds, and figure out what works for you and what's going to motivate you, but recognizing all of those accomplishments that you're achieving on a daily basis.
That's a great idea, that clear vase idea, just because it is visual. And so I know that that really motivates us, to have that visual reminder. And I go back to what you talked about earlier about some of those negative thoughts that might be playing in our heads. And some of our listeners might be subconsciously self-sabotaging their careers at the moment because of that negative self-talk. So how do we recognize that we as humans are really fully in control of our path in life?
To recognize what we are in control in versus what we aren't. And so how does that happen when we don't have that awareness? And it can be something, and really being able to reflect. Sometimes it can be helpful just to talk about it out loud with someone else that you trust, just to hear yourself talking about it. Sometimes we can have certain realizations by hearing ourselves talking about it that we wouldn't have necessarily had just thinking about it. But it's where it can be something, for example, well, gosh, I can't go back to school because I have a job that it requires I work more than 40 hours a week. It's very demanding. And then I have, a child at home and it's just too difficult. I can't do it. To really dissect that thought, because there are still choices. Sure, we have the demands of the family at home and of the job, but it's still a choice. We can still make the choice to go to school and figure out a way to set ourselves up for success, or to modify our schedule, or to lean on others, and to do things differently. But it's still a choice. And so in some ways, we don't realize we're sabotaging ourselves and feel like, well, these things, it's not possible. It's out of our control. When in actuality, it still comes down to the choices that we make, because they're still choices.
Well said. That is a beautiful way to conclude this interview. But before we go, let me tell you, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And I know I've been to San Jose many, many times. There is some great food in San Jose, California. So the next time I'm in town and I fly into San Jose, where should I go for a great meal?
There is a wonderful family-run deli in San Jose called La Villa. Their raviolis are amazing. And if you're lucky, they used to have shirts that said "Got Ravs," because they are very well known for their homemade raviolis. Just delicious raviolis. Highly recommend La Villa.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. I mean, I don't get enough good Italian food these days. And so if I can have some raviolis in San Jose, I'm sure I will be very, very happy for it. It sounds like all homemade stuff over there, the real deal. So I can't wait to go and try that. That sounds absolutely fantastic. All right. So if our listeners, if they want to connect with you, if they want to go and pick up your book, they want to bring you in as a speaker on their college campus, where should they go to connect with you?
They can connect with me at my website, NicoleBueno.com. My last name is spelled B as in boy, UENO. So it's NicoleBueno.com. And I would be happy to work with you.
Fantastic. All right, go and check out NicoleBueno.com. Nicole, I tell you what, thank you so much for being on the show. You're just like a breath of fresh air here with some great information to share. And I know our college students really, really love getting this help from you. And I know that they can contact you and connect with you so that way they can get some additional support going forward. So you're a great resource for them. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, it's my pleasure. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this talk with Nicole, make sure that you like it. Make sure that you share it on social media with other college students that could use the help from Nicole. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we are going to see you next time.